Hello all. In the last video, we started off with remediation techniques on soil. So in general, we saw that remediations can be applied to soil either ex situ, that is the soil to be remediated has to be taken off site, or it can be treated at the site itself, which will be called as an in situ method of treatment. A third way of treating the soil um, is to immobilize the contaminants within the soil within the area of contamination itself, and that is called as um, containment of the contaminated soil. So these are the three ways in which a contaminated soil can be remediated to a certain extent. And in the last video already a discussion was made on two different types of remediation techniques. One of the most simplest technique is the excavation and disposal. Other than that, the soil washing technique was also discussed. Now through this video we will look into thermal remediation of soils. Thermal remediation is a type of heat treatment which is given to contaminated soils to decontaminate it. Now there are different types of heat treatments which can be given to soil, and thermal desorption is just one of the heat treatment techniques. Other types of heat treatment techniques include pyrolysis, hot gas decontamination, vitrification, etc. Okay, so our focus of discussion will be on thermal desorption technique of treatment on contaminated soils. Now, in this treatment also, heat will be supplied to contaminated soils, and this heat supplied will volatilize the contaminants present in the soil. Okay, so only those volatile contaminants can be removed out of the removed out of the soils. Now mostly thermal treatments are applied to those soils which are contaminated with hydrocarbons. Okay, so when talking about hydrocarbons, there will be different types of waste include like oil refining waste, coal tar waste, paint waste, pesticides, etc. So all those types of contaminants which includes, or all those types of waste which includes hydrocarbons, and if the soil is contaminated with hydrocarbons, then thermal treatment would prove to be an effective technique in removing those contaminants from the soil. So thermal remediation techniques can also be applied as either as an in situ method of treatment or as an ex situ method of treatment. Now thermal desorption also, it can also be applied as an in situ treatment method or an ex situ treatment method. So first we will look into the in situ treatment method of thermal desorption. Now here also what we do is we supply heat as well as vacuum simultaneously to the subsurface soils. Okay, so basically the whole system for heating the soil will be installed within the area of contamination that has been identified. So that area plus the whole volume of the subsurface soil will be supplied with enough heat, and we make sure that the temperatures are right and enough heat has been supplied to the soils to decontaminate the soils, as well as vacuum will also be applied simultaneously to extract these volatilized components out of this system. Okay, so basically there will be two systems here. You will have a heating system as well as a extraction and treatment system. Okay, so heating system supplies heat to this whole volume of subsurface soils and make sure that the contaminants are volatilized, and then the volatilized components are extracted and then treated in the extraction and treatment system. Now, in situ thermal desorption, it can be used in various modes. That means the system, there will be some changes in the system used for heating the soils. Okay, so either it can be a surface heating with blankets, that is, you will have a you will have a heating subsurface heating blanket placed over the area of contamination with a surface insulating mat and a vacuum system as well as a vapor barrier. Otherwise, you can heat the soil or the volume of the soil by providing an array of vertical heater or vacuum wells. Okay, so in any of these ways or systems, by installing any of these systems, heat can be supplied to soil and the contaminants can be volatilized and collected out of this soil. Now, as the soil is heated, contaminants in the soil are vaporized by a number of mechanisms. Okay, so it involves evaporation into air stream, steam distillation into the water vapor stream, boiling or oxidation, and pyrolysis. Okay, now as I said, you have an extraction and treatment system also, which forms a part of this whole in situ thermal desorption system. So once the contaminants are vaporized, this vaporized water, contaminants and natural organic components, they will be drawn by vacuum into the blankets or wells in a direction counter current to the heat flow. Okay, so that is why we apply heat as well as vacuum simultaneously to this whole volume of soil which is to be decontaminated. Now, generally, this thermal remediation proves to be quite useful in areas with significant amount of contamination and where you want to decontaminate the soil in a much quicker way. Okay, so once if you have correctly identified the area and the extent of contamination, then this system can be successfully designed and implemented with care, and it will ensure complete removal of the contaminants. Okay, and actually this principle of this whole in situ thermal desorption is that it will distribute heat throughout the contaminated subsurface volume, and it will make sure that the temperature is also sufficient to volatilize the contaminants. Okay, high enough to volatilize the contaminants and extract them out of the soil system. So, as I said, this will prove to be quite useful in places with significant amount of contamination, as well as wherever you want to get a quick cleanup of the contaminated soils, thermal remediation techniques can be applied successfully. Now, this figure here shows you an in situ system of thermal desorption which is applied to the area of contamination. So, once we have identified the area and the volume of soil to be decontaminated, then this system can be installed. And as I said, you will mainly have a heating system, and then you will have an extraction and treatment system. So, in this heating system, as you can see, there will be a number of heaters installed within that area footprint, and then you will have vacuum wells also provided within this area itself. Then in order to make sure that the temperatures given are sufficient and the pressure is also maintained at the correct level, we have temperature and pressure monitoring holes to document the performance of the heating and the treatment. Okay, and basically these temperatures, actually this system can work on any range of temperatures depending upon the requirement, and the temperature is actually set based on the contaminant of concern, that is based on the extent of temperature to be given. Depending upon the type of contaminant, we can actually use this system for a wide range of temperatures. Okay, so temperature flexibility is definitely there in the system. And then so these heaters, it will be arranged in a very systematic pattern. Mostly we go for a triangular pattern, or we can even go for some other pattern, but whatever pattern we choose, it has to ensure that there is an effective heating given to your subsurface soil volume. Okay, actually this form of conduction heating is preferred over the other thermal treatment techniques because it will ensure more uniform distribution of heat, and thereby more efficiently it can remove the contaminants out of this soil. Okay, so we can choose a pattern such that there is uniform and efficient heating provided to these subsurface soil volume, and the contaminants are vaporized out of it or volatilized out of it. Okay, and then once the contaminants are volatilized, it will be drawn. Vacuum is also simultaneously applied, so these vacuum draws these vaporized contaminants out of this heated system, and then the vapors as well as the water can be sent out for treatment. Before it is discharged out finally, we have to treat the vapors, or these vaporized components, the vaporized components or other organic compounds which has been drawn out of this heating system. So they have to be treated before discharging it off. Okay, so this is the whole process. So you have your heating system here, and then you have your extraction and treatment system. Okay, so that those are the two main components of the in situ thermal desorption system. So this in situ thermal desorption technique, it can operate for a wide range of temperatures, either at low, moderate or higher temperatures greater than 100 degrees Celsius, based on the type of contaminant to be volatilized. So based on the requirement, we can operate it at any temperatures and even at sites which is having a low water table or high water table. So the only thing is that if you have water present, naturally occurring water present in the soil, then that much of heat has to be supplied extra to remove that water. And after that only that efficient heating will start happening to the soil system. So what we can do is, before we start the actual heating process to volatilize the contaminants, we can remove this naturally occurring pore water or groundwater through some form of pumping or vaporization technique. Okay, and if the water table is quite high, then we'll have to put in some hydraulic barriers to dewater uh, the area or to be treated. So basically, if water is present, the more the water present, the more will be the heat required to supply to this soil volume. So instead of that, remove whatever water is present within that soil volume to be treated, and then then we can start the actual process of heat treatment on soil. So it will prove to be quite efficient. And then once the treatment is complete, then we can collect soil samples again and test it and see whether this thermal treatment has proved to be successful and whether the complete decontamination has happened or not. And if the contamination still exists, then we'll have to go for a second stage of heat treatment. Okay, and we might have to prolong that whole period of treatment a bit more until the complete decontamination occurs. So that is why I said in the beginning that the heat treatment process or this remediation technique of heat treatment can be either a one stage process or it can be a multi-stage process. Okay, depending upon how much contamination is left to be removed. So the next we'll look into the ex situ method of thermal desorption technique, which is applied to soil. So obviously, since it's a ex situ method, we'll have to excavate the whole contaminated soil out of the site and take it to the factory or the treatment unit where this heat remediation can be given. So especially when materials are fed into some machines, we have to make sure that the efficiency of the machines are not interrupted in any way, and for that a pre-treatment of these materials are to be made. Okay, so same way, once you have taken out the contaminated soil out of the site, it is necessary that this soil has to undergo certain pre-treatment processes before it is fed into the desorption unit for heating. Okay, now so in the pre-treatment process, basically what happens is the drying of the soil and the screening of the material. Okay, so drying is essential because we have to make sure that if at all there is any water content present in the soil, it is removed completely. And then once you otherwise the more the water content, the more will be the heat required as an extra, other than the heat required to volatilize the contaminants. That much of heat has to be supplied in extra to remove the water. So before that happens itself, we have to make sure that the sample supplied to this desorption unit is properly dried. Okay, and then obviously the non-soil materials has to be removed. That is why the sample undergoes a screening process, from where all the cloths can be broken down, and then all the non-soil materials like other debris can also be removed from this soil to be treated. So once this drying and all the screening process is done, the soil can be fed into the desorption unit. Okay, so that is how the pre-treatment process happens. And also one of the ways in which we can make sure that the heat treatment is effective is that already from the site itself we have to identify soil samples with almost the same concentration of contaminants. That is, within the site itself you will have a certain I mean different spots with different levels of contamination, and if all of these materials are mixed together and taken for an ex-situ treatment outside, then the system will not perform efficiently, because it has to cater, I mean, the temperature control for different levels of contaminant concentration. Okay, so basically from the site itself, by means of some soil mapping, soil strata mapping, we can identify the soil samples with almost the same level of contaminant concentration, and such samples can be stockpiled together, and they can be considered as one single sample, having an homogeneous level of contaminant concentration within it, and then they can be sent for treatment. Again, the next sample with the homogeneous level of contaminant concentration can be sent as the next sample. Okay, so basically samples should be having a homogeneous distribution of contaminants, and such samples have to be collected together or stockpiled together and sent for the pre-treatment. So in the pre-treatment, what happens is the drying process as well as the screening process of the soil. So once that is done, this soil can be fed to the desorption unit, where the actual heat treatment process happens, and then this contaminants will be volatilized. Okay, then the next is so the heating is done now. Then the vaporized contaminants will be now going to the extraction and heating. You have the extraction and treatment system also, right? So these vaporized contaminants will be extracted out of this desorption unit, and then it is fed to a treatment unit, so before it is discharged. So this such type of ex-situ treatment units will consist of a number of components such as bag houses, cyclones, afterburners, Venturi scrubbers, wet scrubbers, and carbon adsorption units. So these are components part of the post-treatment machine or the unit, where the vapors or the volatilized contaminants will undergo treatment before it is suitable for discharge. Okay, then same way, here also, once a soil is decontaminated, a validation has to be made by doing the necessary test on soil, and then identifying whether any contamination still remains in the soil or not. If the contamination still remains, then it will have to undergo a second cycle of heat treatment in this ex-situ thermal desorption unit. Now, so this is a flow diagram illustrating the ex-situ thermal desorption technique. Okay, so if after excavating you send it for a pre-treatment, that is materials handling, where it undergoes, where the pre-treatment includes drying and screening of soils, and then after the pre-treatment, the soil will be fed into the thermal desorption unit, where heat will be given, and the treated materials, if it satisfies all the decontamination levels, then it can be sent back to the site and used as a backfill soil. Then the vaporized contaminants has to be fed into the gas treatment system. So it will be a big system involving many components, as I mentioned. And then here the actual vapor treatment or the gas treatment occurs, as well as water treatment also occurs. And then once it is cleaned, once the vapors are cleaned completely, then it can be discharged. Okay, so this is how the in situ and ex situ thermal remediation system works. So in both systems, what you have is a heating system as well as a extraction and treatment system. So as per the only certain components will vary, whereas because in the case of ex-situ thermal desorption units, you will have a very elaborate um, unit or machinery for the post treatment of these vaporized contaminants. Okay, so this is all about thermal remediation. Thank you.